All right, welcome everyone to the Remodelers On The Rise show. I have Heather and Michael Francis with Francis Renovations out in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. Heather and Michael, say hello to the people.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. And this King of Prussia, we already, before we click the record button, I asked you, there's got to be like an origin story or something interesting about why the city was named King of Prussia.
I don't remember what it is. And I think we looked it up one time and it was not an interesting enough story for me to remember.
Like one that you would expect. Go ahead,
I
Michael.
remember we looked it up because you asked us.
Yeah. That sounds about right. For those people listening, the first two people that send me an email at kyle@remodelersontherise.com with the origin story of King of Prussia, you guys aren't included in this. These are for just the listeners. You are going to receive a beautiful Remodelers on the Rise hat mailed to you just for the first two. You think people will do it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's early in the episode. It's easy. They just have to Google it. Bonus points if you make it kind of fun when you send it over. There we go. So we're often running. Michael and Heather, I have worked with for a decent number of years now. We've done some one-on-one coaching over the years. They are currently part of a Remodelers on the Rise peer group. This year, we're just talking about seeing each other in person in a couple weeks down in Florida when we're going to our in-person peer group meeting, and wanted to have them on to share a little bit of just their story overall in their remodeling business, but also as a husband and wife team, the joys, just mostly joys, the joys of working together, what you guys have learned there over the years. You guys have been making some key hires over time. You've been making transitions into charging for design and development and how you're pricing and how you're watching your numbers. And it will be helpful to a lot of your other remodeling peers just to hear your guys' story. So if you could maybe just start by telling us a little bit about the business and kind of what you guys specialize in and a little bit of the story of the business. And then also maybe a tidbit or two about you guys individually.
So Michael went into business in 2004. So this is his 28th year in business. And he initially was young and he had experience in the,
Hey, he's still young.
He was young 20 years ago. So he had experience in the field, and so decided it was time to go out on his own and build a name for himself. And then I didn't join him until 2017. I just joined him part-time. And then in 2020 is when we really started to look at the business itself. 2018, 2020, we started to look at the business and how we were doing things. And that's when we decided to shift gears and really, take him out of the field more, focus more on the business and turn it, just progress professionally.
Yeah. And sometimes when you are a craftsman, and Michael, that's who you are, that transition from, in Michael, your case, you got this entrepreneurial streak flowing through you. Michael might share a little bit about this in a minute of some of these growth plans, but that transition from, if I'm not swinging the hammer, how are we going to keep quality up? If I'm not swinging the hammer, how are we going to make the money we want to make here? If I'm not swinging the hammer, the clients are not going to like that. If we have people on our staff or our trade partners, and I think you guys started to realize, okay, if we're going to grow this business, I cannot be swinging the hammer out here all the time. We've got to transition this into really truly running the business. Is that fair, Michael?
That's absolutely fair.
Yeah. Did you like that transition?
That was a tough transition, which you and Heather helped me through quite a bit. And then you're used to being in the field and having control over everything every day. It's tough to go into the office. And, even for 2 years after I transitioned, it was still like, oh, the guy's called, let me put on my superhero cape and go fix everything. And it just doesn't work because they need to figure it out. So you always say, well, come up with a couple options and let's figure out which one's best and do that.
I do remember conversations around kind of we call it head trash of like these thoughts that are like, we can't find somebody that can do it at that level. Or, we tried to sub this out and just the quality wasn't there. Or there's no way we can find a tile installer that does it up to this standard. So that's going to be a bottleneck in our process. A lot of head trash that I remember you working through. And I think over time, and probably a lot of people listening to this can relate, over time, as you incrementally, piece by piece, find a stronger team around you, maybe have to hire and fire some people because they didn't work out. Piece by piece, you start to realize, okay, I can build a strong team around me and still maintain the level of craftsmanship and quality. And it's not always just a linear, straight up process to get there, right?
No. You have to allow yourself to lean into the grace to, okay, this person isn't working out. Let's let them go, and we're going to find better people after that. And it's not a failure. It's just part of the process.
That's right. Michael, I thought about you the other day.
What if?
It was at 242, which is it's kind of a church / like they've got a gym and they've got this giant indoor football place. So it's kind of a hangout place. And my son was doing a violin lesson. And I brought our youngest daughter, Annie, and they have a probably 15-foot climbing wall in there.
I knew I was going to something right finally.
And I said, step aside, little 11-year-old, watch dad do this. And as I was straining to get all the way up to the top of this 15-foot tall thing, and I'm 6'1", so it's not even that long, I thought to myself, Michael Francis enjoys doing this? This hurts so bad.
He does this for fun.
Yeah. What? So share a little bit about that, Michael, just so we got the little history of a little backstory in the business, then we'll unpack that. But that's a strong hobby of yours, is it not?
Yes. Yeah. Love rock climbing, love traveling to places to go rock climbing. So Heather's the beach side, and I'm the hang off a cliff side. And it's a good balance.
I mean, it's a good balance, but I don't know, is there a lot of places where you can beach / climb?
And there is some lake areas. Like in West Virginia, there's Somersville Lake, which is this beautiful lake you can boat and hang out on. But then it's a huge climbing area. But no, they usually don't go hand in hand.
There you go. And so Heather, that was something more on like the hobby side of Michael. What is something that the listeners can know about you? What do you got?
I'm a fitness enthusiast, we'll call it. My hobby is strength training. So that's just fun for me.
Now, was that the case 3 years ago?
Not at all.
I thought that was the case. You've been on a little journey there. So actually, let's hear a little bit about that, because I think that's encouraging to folks. And my wife yesterday started doing some workouts. And like, all right, kids are back in school. I'm going to start doing some workouts. My 16-year-old daughter gave her, hey, here's what you're going to do downstairs, because she's been working out a lot. And my wife skipped day 1 and did day 1 and day 2 at the same time. And I had to carry her out of bed this morning because of how sore she is, but proud of her for getting after it. Where did this come from for you?
So we were in one of the trainings with you. There was a goal setting session, and one of my goals was to drink more water. It was something with drinking more water and like taking care of myself physically. We have 4 kids, we have 4 children, and so when you have 4 kids, that's your whole world. And so I didn't drink more water that month. I didn't do whatever physical activity I said I was going to do in that goal setting session, but that stuck with me. And so eventually, like, it kind of just sat there, and then I joined the gym, and I got a trainer for a couple months and to help me learn the gym. And then I started, I found things that just really resonated with me. And part of that is we get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym till 4 o'clock. That's just
you had everybody eating out of the palm of your hand of like, you know what? I just tuned into the Remodelers on the Rise show. I'm going to hear more about this Francis Renovations. They're going to talk about some of the business lessons they learned, but we're getting to know them. You know what? I can resonate with that. Like, you set a goal and then I didn't hit it. Wow, that's great. And then you just threw it all away by saying, we get up at 3 a.m. Now everybody's like, forget this.
Yeah, we were relatable. But I found a program that I work with and I see great progress with. And so actually that goal of just drinking water has transitioned to a goal of doing 10 pull-ups on my own. And actually I have a goal of getting into handstands now. So like, it just has been escalating. It's something fun that,
Yeah. And sometimes it's just some kind of spark that starts it. But I think before we move on to the businessy stuff, I think, that story that you just shared of like, it kind of got contagious. I started to enjoy it and found things that actually resonated with me that I enjoyed doing, not that I was feeling like I was forced to do. And we all know if this is an area of strength for you, cool. If this is an area of weakness, man, as we get older, what we realize is our health and our physical ability to do things and to work out our bodies and to make sure that we're staying strong and fit. And that can look in a variety of ways for people. It's just such a critical component to enjoying life as we get older. We spend so much time on our business, on improving our financials, on hitting financial goals, and all of that is good. But let this be a reminder that we need that balance to make sure that, our physical fitness and our health, that we do everything we can to make sure we're achieving some success there too. You never know what we're going to talk about on the Remodelers On The Rise show. All right. So enough rock climbing and then exhausting and then working out. Awesome. So you guys have been working together, husband, wife team. What have you kind of learned by working together? What do you find is great about it? What have you guys had to work on improving communication wise or boundaries wise? What comes to mind for that?
Working together, I think it's fantastic. We get to share the same goals. Like when Heather was in another industry and I was in construction, it was always, why are you answering these calls at 8:00 at night and running out to clients' houses? Why are you so stressed out? Why are you so tired? And then she gets into the business and she totally understands. Oh, yeah, that kind of sucks. Like, I understand why you're stressed out now. And, we're not that way anymore. Like, still high stress times, but there's a lot less as we've grown and evolved and done things better.
Yes.
What works best is establishing who is responsible for what. Definitive, this is what I do, this is what you do, and stay in your lane, Michael, is important.
It's something that you need to tell yourself, and you may hear from time to time.
Yeah, it's your time.
Yes. Heather, what would you say as far as working together?
Yeah, I think we have our relationship is better now than it ever has been. And I think a lot of that is because we have learned how to communicate with each other on a level that we wouldn't have had to otherwise. We have to communicate about everything. And that was a process to go through. And we still go through, there's still moments of dealing, working through.
You were picking that word carefully. We'll call it dealing.
So I think that has been great. That's he's my best friend. So working together is just, it has its challenges, but it comes easy for us.
Awesome.
The hardest thing is absolutely establishing that boundary between family and work. It's like we're on an evening walk and there's this client still needs this and we have to do that. And then we still need to find more leads and it's all running through my head, but it's got to stay inside because we're on a family walk and I need to focus on be present with that. So we try and keep the boundary that everything's separate.
Yeah.
Or
good. Try. Yeah. And we're not looking for just like fitness, just like whatever else you could add it to. We're not looking for perfection, but we are looking for consistency and we are looking for a trend. And, there'll be times where work and life balance kind of gets a little out of whack. Yes. But even what you're describing there of catching yourself when it's like, no, we don't need to talk about business right now. Let's focus this time on family. I think that's half the battle when you are working next to each other and living next to each other, right? 24/7. Heather, sometimes it does feel like that 24/7.
Well,
Never.
Our desks, if you could see our office, our desks are right next to each other. So we spend a lot of time together.
Yes.
So there's definitely moments where I'll be like, I think that you should go on a climbing trip. Or he'll be like, are you going to go see your mom anytime soon?
Intense. Yeah. Going back to that setting kind of boundaries and clarity on who is responsible for what. I think that's a takeaway for everybody listening to this. The challenge with that is as business goes on week in, week out, month in, month out, sometimes those lines can start to blur, or we bring somebody on and that changes things, or we take somebody that's on our team and put them in a slightly different position. And I think for all the remodelers listening to this, when you have clarity on who is responsible for what task, one, it reduces some of the crossover and extra work. And it also just allows people to really take responsibility. And that's something that you guys have focused on, done a lot of work around. I think one interesting way of checking that would be, for example, and Heather, you can answer this question, if we're 20 days past the end of the month, or let's say it's August 28th, and the QuickBooks is not updated through the end of July. Whose fault is that? Boom, right there, right?
With mine.
That's my responsibility.
Yep.
So that's one example of like, that is my lane. That is my responsibility. If that's not done, and just challenge yourself as you think about your remodeling business. Is there a clear, yes, that is my responsibility, or a couple people in your company going, well, I sort of do that and I sort of do that. But that's a recipe for a lot of murkiness and frankly, just not progressing as solid as we could. There's several things I've noticed that you guys have implemented over the last few years that have been pretty impactful. Talk to me about kind of the design build side of things, and talk to me maybe about what you've been doing related to selections coordinator and trying to get more and more planning done before the project starts, and kind of what you guys have learned or what you would share with others about that.
Wow, design building. We went from doing like cost plus projects to doing straight bid projects to adopting the plus, format, I guess we could call it. And it's just made such a huge difference in overall cost and scheduling of projects, bringing in everything on time, on budget. It's a better product for the client. The subs and all the guys you're using, if they're on your team or not, everybody knows what they're doing. They know the products that they're working with. It's a way, way better experience than, I'll do your project for $20,000. Hey, it's a blank sheet of paper that says $20,000 here.
Without the detailed scope of work, without the selections clear.
Yeah, and that's how we did it. And we had a horrible experience, and we had a client that had a horrible experience, and that was kind of the catalyst to.
That was our last project, then we said, okay.
It wasn't like doing this again.
So sometimes we have those experiences and we say, I'm never doing this again, but then we don't do the change that's necessary and we just kind of fall back into it. You guys said we're never doing this again, which meant detailed scope of work, signing off on any and all change orders, making as many selections as possible before a hammer hits the job site. Those are the things that you really started to focus on, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So those in and of itself are good reminders for people listening. How have you evolved related to the pricing side of things and what you price and how you approach that?
As in
what you charge
and like markup and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, that came down to understanding our numbers, which is mostly Heather's area. But I started it before Heather kind of took that area over, and it was a whole process of like, this is what the material costs. This is how much we need to put out for insurances, taxes, vehicles, gas, like non-project related items.
Yep.
That needs to be covered in that overall project cost. And it was not charging nearly enough. You learn what that markup is. Like, why don't you have two pennies to rub together? Then you learn what that markup is. And all of a sudden you're like, hey, look, there's a little bit of money left over after this job. Is this how this is supposed to be? It's pretty nice. Yeah. You get an understanding. Do you want a specific number for markup?
No, more just what you just shared, because there's several people listening that are thinking, man, I'm working my face off, and where is the money at the end of these projects? Yeah. And frankly, that's a lot of where you guys were a number of years ago. And it started by going, all right, what are our overhead expenses?
Yeah.
How much does that tally up to? Wow, that's more than I thought.
Yeah, a lot more.
So if we're doing, that much in overhead and we sell this amount of revenue, well, no wonder you started having some light bulb moments of realizing we are underpriced and we're not capturing everything that we need to. And as you knew your numbers better, as you did the math around it, and as you just got brave and said, you know what, we're just going to charge more, all of a sudden there was more money in the bank account.
And if like you were saying, it's head trash. It's years in the industry of everybody saying you can only mark up 10%. You should only charge more. You can't charge more than 20% for any over any project. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, it might be more than that. Like, you might be at 75%. Who knows? At the end of the day, you have to make a profit. There's no reason to be in business.
That's right. Cool.
And I also think it's important that people understand there are two people who are very uncomfortable with numbers. I don't know if you remember, Kyle, when we first started working together. I would just like a pit in my stomach when I knew that we had to talk about numbers. So it's not.
And then Michael would put headphones on.
He will.
That's how much he enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, and now 5 years later, we can have these conversations. So, but that's not where we started.
Mm.
We
It's when you're so used to being broke and not having money at the end of the job, they're not comfortable conversations.
Yep.
You're afraid to click that link and say, okay, how much is really in there this week? Can I pay the bills? And then you get a better understanding.
Yeah. And we cover some of it, Heather, but what else would you say has been the keys in that improvement on the financial side? What were some breakthroughs for you?
Well, I mean, it's definitely, the number one is knowing my numbers and just knowing what it actually costs to be a business and what it costs to run the project. That's, by far the most important. The other thing, in terms of, charging what we should be charging, that was a hard transition to make, because you don't want your client, you don't want to get your client off, but in reality, at the end of the day, the job costs what it costs. And, just remembering, like, this is what it costs for me to do this job appropriately. And, the planning up front was huge with that as well.
Yeah, and solidifying that.
Design, yeah. Going through that design process.
I remember making that transition to charge you for design. That was huge. And I remember like, oh, let's tell them it's going to be $150. And they were like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And it was, okay, let's tell them it's $500. Okay, that's fine. And then we dig into it. Okay, how much is designing these projects really costing?
Yeah.
Now it's like $15,000.
Which is what we're going through now.
Yeah.
And so that, that $500 is now $15,000 and up for these projects. It just depends on the project.
That require full design and full project development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a good example, Michael, of like 150. Oh, that worked. 500. Oh, that worked. Charging for design and development, which is another kind of breakthrough you guys had, has allowed you to do more upfront work. Absolutely. If you are not charging for design and development, I already know what your estimate looks like. It has a lot of gaps in it. The attention to detail isn't there. There's a ton of allowances. And you also know, remodelers listening, that if you have a ton of allowances and a ton of question marks and you start the job, you are already on your heels. You are already giving this client an experience that's going to be clunkier. You are going to be ordering materials last minute, and there's going to be delays. Everything downstream as the project goes into production becomes harder. And when you start charging even a little bit, and you get somebody to say, you know what, I am going to write that check, or I am going to sign that little $500, your closing percentage goes way up, and your ability to focus more time and attention on your ideal projects goes up. And some people say no to it. Those are the people that were going to say no already.
Yeah.
Good. Tell me about the selections coordinator. I feel like you've kind of come and gone with that. I think you have somebody in place, have another person in place. What have you guys done related to trying to get more of the selections done? I remember, Heather, for a little bit, you're like, well, maybe I'll just take that on. And then you stepped back and looked at your capacity of, all right, we've got the kids, we've got this, I've got the accounting, I've got this, and decided, you know what, that's not going to be the best plan. And you've experimented with some different options there. What would you share experience-wise with that? Because I think that's a position that, even if it's a part-time, even if it's a trade partner, I think a lot of remodelers, if they can get somebody to really drive forward the selections and the details there, it can really reduce the cycle time, the length of time it takes to get somebody through the design and project development process.
We have our selections coordinator, Caroline, has been with us for 3 years, I think. And she has been a game changer for us. And so our process with her is, she's very part-time. She's 1099. When we get a new project, we just reach out to her and say, hey, do you have the capacity for this? And if she, usually she does, she's great. And we just give her a list of things that need to be picked out for the client with, expectations of timing and, budget. And she runs with it from there. She comes up with design boards, and she, the final selections is when she gets back to us. We're actually increasing some of the things that she does. So we had always gone out and done the canvas,
Canvas, yes.
Yeah, they're so close. The canvas scans. So she's going to start doing that now, and that'll give her a better picture of, the whole project to help with her planning. But having her in that capacity has been a game changer for us. And then, we have the other trade partners. We have Savannah that we work with for the layouts and
design.
Yeah. And it's freed us up. It wasn't feasible to continue with me doing it. And I'm not that good at it. It's not my unique ability.
Yeah. Yeah. But even for some people listening to this, stepping back and saying, number one, do I have the capacity to take this on? Number two, how else could we do this? I think a lot of people think I need to hire somebody, and then they immediately go, I don't know if I want to add that amount to the overhead. There's a lot of quarter steps and half steps forward that you can take when it comes to design and selections and getting help with that. And even just what you described, she goes, she meets, she represents you guys well. She meets with the homeowners. She's got the full list. She's getting them to make selections. Oh, I do love that. That looks great. Yes, let's lock that in and let's move forward. So that's a huge thing that you guys implemented. Awesome.
Yeah.
You changed your business from Francis Family Renovations to, when people go look you up, it says Francis Renovations. And then you can see it if you're watching the video version. And then also behind Michael, it says Francis Exteriors. Now, Michael, you have kind of big picture vision for this business, which I might let you talk about. I don't want you to get too excited. But talk to us about a little bit of the shift in Francis Renovations from having the family name in there. And then also this idea of having kind of a division within the business that's focused more on the exteriors. Tell us a little bit about that strategy, what you guys were doing there.
I have to defer to Heather for the name change. That was definitely something she came up with.
So the market that we want to be in as we grow, our goals, our business goals grow, and part of that is, the areas that we're working in. And we felt like it was a good move to get to be attractive to a certain group, to remove the family from the name. So the Francis Renovations, Francis still reflects us, and it still, shows us. And, when you go to our website, it still talks a little bit about our family and, and the importance of our family to us and why it's the Francis Renovations. But in more than that, we did have other plans of expanding. And so Francis Renovations, Francis Exteriors, and then there will be more in the future. It just will. It will just all go together.
We got home buildings, and I think what you were getting at with the attracting your ideal clients, while Francis Family Renovations, it has a feel to it. It is mom and poppy, right? It is mom and pop.
Yeah.
It attracts like, oh man, these guys care about this. It just has a feel to it. Francis Renovations, a little more succinct, a little less mom and poppy.
Mm-hmm.
It's one way of putting it. And then it also has a little better ring to it of Francis Renovations, Francis Exteriors. What'd you say, Michael? Francis what?
Builders.
It wouldn't be a meeting without Heather and Michael without some dog showing up on the video. Shocker.
I mean,
Yeah.
How many you got earlier?
Yeah.
he's behind us.
Who knows what the little guy is going to do, but
We're just hoping he doesn't do anything embarrassing.
I'd say, Heather and I went through a season where it was mostly her and I doing the one-on-one calls. And I would say on a 45-minute meeting, she spent 20 minutes going, hang on a second, I got to get this dog out of here. And this business would be twice the size it is if we would just have fully productive one-on-one meetings.
Yes.
It's accurate.
But the dogs are cute. Michael, what's this exteriors division, this first division that you're kind of starting on?
So the idea was that, the design build model and the renovation company and how that grew, and it really gave a better experience to our clients to take that into the exteriors market. As in, there's so many more options out there than people are presented with. That comes as into if people were doing like windows and siding and stuff like that. Like you can do new construction windows and seal the whole thing better. Like, yeah, this is entailed and that's entailed, but you can lay that all out for a client. If they're replace the plywood on the outside of their house, we can put insulated plywood on their house. There's just so many options that people have that they don't know about because they're just like, I just want a new roof. Okay, well, do you want a metal roof? You want something that's going to last your lifetime? All you have to do is clean it and repaint it in 20 years. Something like that. It's a third of the cost of replacing. So it's just, taking something that we think is a huge value, like the design build model, into the exterior market.
Gotcha.
I think it's pretty good.
And what's this thing going to look like in 10 years?
Well, I gave myself 2 years about 6 months ago to get a piece of property and start building custom homes. So like that's the route that I want to take as we get the renovation company more running itself, which we're working our way there. Exteriors will take off, and then the custom home thing will happen.
There you go. Well, that sounds calm, Heather. It doesn't sound like he's biting off more than he can chew.
No.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet. Not yet. Cool. I think for all of us listening, some people's vision for their business is, kind of a little bit better version of what I currently have. Some people are like, my vision is much bigger. I want to be able to have and I want to go through the process of building that and experiencing that. And the nice thing about our, frankly, business in general, but I think the remodeling industry and especially is that success can come in so many different forms and fashions. And 2 years from now, you may go, the building side, I'm going to push pause on that. We're just going to rock with these two divisions. It's okay to have a vision. It's okay to adjust the vision. But as business owners, we also have to keep fueling that entrepreneurial journey, like getting excited about what's next. And I think that kind of fuels you guys. And frankly, if you have a big vision like that, it colors how you are setting up and running your current business. We need to hire somebody to do this so that I'm freed up to expand into that. So I'm excited to kind of see where all that goes. Couple other little thoughts, and then want you guys to share a few closing thoughts too. One thing that when I was taking some notes of what you guys could share, one thing I've noticed over the last couple of years with you guys is remodeling has a natural ebb and flow. And, we go through a hot streak where we sign. We go through a cool streak where it's like, can I sign anything? Mm-hmm. And one thing I've noticed that you guys have done, whether you know it or not, is even during maybe those quiet times where the work isn't coming in just like you want, I've noticed that you guys have remained pretty calm. And a little bit of a realization of, hey, we're going to keep doing what we need to do. We're going to keep marketing. We're going to keep putting our best foot forward when we get a new lead in, and things, and we're going to keep doing this, but we're not going to freak out if work is getting a little tight, because history has shown us that it's going to be okay, and we're going to keep going. And then inevitably, what happens?
No, it picks back up.
This picks up, that picks up. But I've noticed that you guys have remained calm through that, and perhaps that's just maturing as business people, or just realizing that, hey, we can only control so much. And I wanted to share that because, one, kudos, and two, I think a lot of people need to hear that right now. Keep doing what you're doing that's going to produce results for you. Keep marketing, keep getting creative with that. When a lead comes out, do everything you can to put your best foot forward and give them a great early experience and first impression with you. And then remain calm if things aren't clicking into place exactly. You guys have done a good job with that. So kudos.
Thank you.
Well, Kyle, we've told you that, but we've been a mess behind the scenes. Well, that would have screwed up my whole story. So there you go. To kind of close this out, what else about your story or about your business is something else that comes to mind that was impactful for you, or that really kind of made an impact? Or what else would you kind of say as far as encouragement to the people listening?
Oh, boy.
We have a constant improvement plan. You can call it a lot of different things, like a learning plan, whatever you want to call it, but I call it a constant improvement plan. And it's like at the end of every job, what went well, what didn't go well, you meet with the guys, like, how can we improve? They're looking to improve, we're looking to improve. We even ask clients, like, what went well, what didn't go well. We had a project 3 years ago, but one of our constant things has always been sending a cleaner at the end of the project. Oh, I totally forgot it. Didn't schedule the cleaner, and the client, I was like, what can we do better if we were to start this project today? And they said, I think I'll bring a cleaner at the end of the project. I was like, dope. Okay, I owe you a house cleaning. That's fair. So, but always improving, doing it better.
Yeah. And if we're doing that at the end, during and at the end of every project, we can't help but get better. Yeah. But it's very easy to stay in kind of that mundane, not improving, if you're just like, I don't have time to slow down and have a meeting with my key team members that are part of that. We got to get on to this next thing. That's a recipe for getting kind of stagnant.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I like that. SIP, the CIP, the constant improvement plan.
Yeah.
Okay. And Heather, what comes to your mind of encouragement or final thought related to your story?
I think in line with what Michael said, be able to self-reflect. Don't be in a position where we are a customer service facing industry, right? And we are going to deal with all kinds of people. And a lot of them are fantastic interactions, and some people you are not going to be able to connect with in the same way. And just reflect on those interactions and see how you can adjust to maybe meet them somewhere.
I like that. I like that. There are some odd ducks out there, aren't there? If only everybody could be as laid back and easy to get along with as us.
Yeah,
I mean, life.
we're not high strung at all. It's great.
Yeah, there's
no,
there is.
Is over there.
Yeah, one of my remodelers was like, if we just didn't have to deal with money and people, this business would be so awesome. Yeah. There's some truth to that. Cool. Well, thank you for kind of sharing your story, a little bit of, we talked about a variety of things, and that's what's always kind of fun is somebody's takeaway might be what you shared related to the health, or that somebody's like, you know what, I used to love to climb and I'm going to get back to that. 2 people are going to get hats because of King of Prussia. And then in addition to that fun stuff, some very practical unveiling of what's really helped you guys improve that hopefully resonated with people listening. So thanks for sharing. And we'll see you in person in a couple of weeks, and then we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Nice running, pal.
Thanks.
See you, Doc.